At one point, semi-consistent YouTube content was a familiar sight on this channel. Just like at one point, and, over the course of the last couple of years, this series, this TW series, was also a familiar sight on this channel, because this is the WCW season that was a frequent subject of the Inside TW series that I used to look into my past with WCW. I've been at this season for about almost 11 years at this point. A shitload of shows, a lot of good ratings, a lot of good memories, a lot of good moments have taken place. But, much like with recording in general, other series, recording this one, I just lost interest. I just got burnt out. And this isn't for recording a new episode of Inside TW. It could be in the future, but right now this is for B-roll. As I'm not going to be talking about TW, I'm going to be talking about something else, and that is, as you all know, or if you don't know, I'm going to tell you now, for the last 3 years, I've been researching the sale of World Championship Wrestling. Initially, the research started because I thought there was some there were some holes in the, with the sale. There were some fishy side effects, I guess you could say, that things weren't adding up. So I sat down and I researched, 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 and I tried to find everything I could to prove my point. But that didn't mean I was finding everything I could, because I wasn't. Because the reality is, I was finding anything I could that would prove my point. That was it. That was leaving out a whole host of information to placed into the book. And that's why when I finished the book the first time, early last year, I think it was early last year, I want to say, I took one look at the book, and I thought, it sucks, because it was too repetitive. So, for the remainder of 2018 and into the early part of this year, I spent time rewriting it, researching more, going more in depth with research, and maybe even focusing a little bit more in detail on things that I have not seen in other books about WCW. About details and details and details and details about information that may not have popped up elsewhere, but did in my book. Because I was able to focus on it. I was able to turn my attention and say, I want to be different. But the only reason why I was able to be different is because I looked and I saw that the book I wrote the first time was not worth it. It wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth the time I invested in it, because it was just a thrown together piece of literature, if you could call it that. It was a thrown together piece of literature that was only designed to try and prove my point and throw together the idea that something illegitimate happened with WCW. But after redoing it and starting over, I realized how nonsensical that book was, and how much of a fool it would have made me look like it had I purchased it, had I published it, had that been my first book to publish. Because it didn't prove anything other than the fact that I had some contextual evidence, quote unquote, that could prove, not beyond a doubt, but that there were some areas of questioning. But it was too repetitious, it was too focused on one thing and not focused on the bigger picture. And that's why I changed the focus and changed everything. But as I wrote the book the second time, the reality started setting in. Especially when I started getting closer to finishing it. The reality started setting in that that things were gonna be different. That this would actually be published. And I wanted it to be perfect. I wanted it to be the best it could be. I wanted it to be done 100%. So I read and reread and read and reread over and over the same chapters, over and over the same sections, over and over the same words, not because I kept losing track of where I was, but because I would read over it, change something, read over it again, change something again, read over it again, change something again. I put it through grammar programs to make sure the grammar was correct. I put it through program after program after program after program after program, and I even had people read it over other than me, to try and get a new second set of eyes on the book, and to see if I was missing anything. I've been obsessed with making sure it's perfect. Why? Because one thing that I've noticed that goes hand in hand with publishing a book is the anxiety that comes along with making sure it's perfect. Because the one thing that comes into your mind when you're looking at that is, well, is it perfect? And the other thing is limiting criticism. Because one thing that a lot of people take great pride in is being able to poke holes in somebody's hard work to make it seem less worthwhile. And I have had anxiety issues about that idea, about that thought, about those questions for a long time, especially since I finished the book. Because the one thing that keeps popping into my mind is, how are you going to handle criticism? Because there's going to be a critic. And I already have anxiety. But I know that at this point, there really isn't much to say as far as that's concerned, if I am actually legitimately contemplating putting a pin in it and walking away. Because doing that means they win. Because doing that means you're not giving yourself a fair chance. I can tell you 100% for certain that I am not at all contemplating putting a pin in it and not publishing it and walking away. Because that's just not something I want to do at this point. Because I have invested too much time, energy, patience into it to not publish it, to not go through with it and say to those critics, whatever you want to say, whatever you want to do, whatever you believe, whatever you want to throw at me, I'll be able to take it, I'll be able to handle it, and I'll be able to throw it and dish it right back. But saying it and doing it are two different things, and I can tell you 100% for certain that it is difficult to be able to go through with it. It is difficult to be able to sit here and say that I'm going to do it beyond a shadow of a doubt, because I know how I am, and I know I've never actually done anything like this. And anybody who actually sees it in the book, there is a section where I talk about this to a point. Because there was a time when I hated writing. But now writing gave me a purpose. And writing led me down a path that I never even thought I would possibly have the opportunity to even think about. And that's writing a book. But 76 pages later, 3 years, 6 folders, 3 binders, 4 notebooks, a whole lot of time, energy, and random conversations with people that most people would probably say, "What the heck are you doing talking to that person about this?" But if I felt the person can help me, then I went to him. I talked to law professors, I went to my librarian, I went to my library. I talked to anybody who I thought could help or give me a clearer image of what I should be looking at or what I should be doing. And I've done a lot that I didn't think I would ever do. I never thought I would actually spend 3 years researching anything, let alone something to do with wrestling. But I did. But I did, and even though I didn't prove what I initially set out to prove, that doesn't mean I wasted my time. Because there's still something coming out of this that I'm proud of. And in a couple weeks, I'll be able to look and see that there's a book with my name on it for sale. And I'm not gonna lie, There are some nights when anxiety got the better of me. There are some nights when anxiety beat me up. But feeling anxiety and feeling regret are two totally different things. And I know that there's only one thing I can do at this point right now. And that's, I'm at the point where it's time to share this with all of you. Because I will regret not sharing it. This is anxiety that everybody faces, because if you're doing something that you're going to share with the public, you're afraid of those who won't like it, and you're not necessarily thinking about the people who will. Because you invested so much time, energy, and patience into this project, into this, that it became a labor of love somewhere along the road, something that you are insanely passionate about, and that you want people to love as much as you do, and you're afraid that people won't. But I guess that's the anxiety of writing a book. You just never know until it's out. One of the things I said I wanted to do was that before I published the book, I wanted to make this video and share it with all of you. Because right now the book is done. And days away from being sent in. The only thing I need to figure out is the cover art. And once I do, it's going to be sent in. It's going to be set up and ready to go. I mean, I do need to do a little bit of research on the programs and the specifications that I need to be ready to handle and decide in the spur of the moment, so I have a little background knowledge of what to expect on that, as opposed to just doing it the spur of the moment and possibly fucking up my labor of love, my passion project, the one thing and the only thing that I've spent more time on than anything else that I've ever done. I owe it to it, and I owe it to you to take my time and publish it the right way, knowing what I want before I publish it, as opposed to handling it like I would a school project. But either way, very soon, I will be able to speak the words, "I have been published." You will be able to see it all over that it was published, because it's something I'm proud of. I want to share it with each and every one of you any way I can. Until then, remember this one thing. You're your own worst critic. And I know that I am 100% my own worst critic, because I strive for perfection with this and every other book after this, because I'm telling you right now, this is just the start. It ain't like the magazine. This isn't going to be a one and done. Once this is done, it's on to the next one. And right now, let the countdown begin for the day that this book hits the shelves of Amazon. Because it's only a matter of time before the sale that changed wrestling is on your computer screen, and you're deciding if you want to buy it or not. Because it's been on my computer screen for long enough. It's time for me to share it with you. And put the anxiety aside. Because if I'm gonna put a pin in anything at this point, it's the anxiety, not the book. The book is coming. And it won't just be the sale that changed wrestling. It'll be the book that changed my life. Hope you're as excited for it as I am. For more updates, please feel free to check out my Twitter @WrestlingExpress with 1S, or stick here for any updates that I may post in a video form. Other than that, feel free to leave a like, subscribe to the channel for more content just like this that you can only find right here at Wrestling Express. Till next time. Later.